ready for some football. I don't know about you. Who else could it be but your man Lou? Yeah.
Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T? Welcome to Sunday Night Football Overtime. Titans, Rams. Think we need to start talking about this Tennessee Titans team as a true Super Bowl contending football team. I remember when that trade for Julio Jones, first took place. And I think the caption on the video that I did, the podcast episode, was, "Are the Tennessee Titans Super Bowl contenders now?" And I thought that move would really give them a chance offensively to compete with and we didn't know what the Chiefs were going to be this year. We thought they were going to be the Chiefs of old. Obviously, that's not the case, but the Chiefs, the Bills, some of these high-octane offenses that we thought were going to exist in the AFC, we thought that move of getting Julio Jones was going to give them the offensive firepower necessary with Derrick Henry and A.J. Brown and some of the things that they can do offensively. Well, Julio Jones has really been a non-factor on this team to this point. And if he can get revved up, if he can get healthy, that's number one. But if he can then be integrated even better into this offense, imagine how much more dangerous this Titans team can be. Now, obviously, not having Derrick Henry really hurts them. And the defense stepped up tonight. The offense was really a passenger tonight. They really didn't do anything to really truly impact this game other than not F it up. Okay. This was really a defensive win by the Tennessee Titans. And it's amazing their defense has come full circle because at one point the Titans would win in spite of their defense. They were winning games 34-31. We remember the Buffalo game? You know, obviously that Bills team is tough to stop. Well, Jacksonville held them to 6 points today. I mean, what the hell is going on out there anyway? I don't know. Don't ask me. I told you, I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. Don't ask me anything about this league. This shit is crazy. It's zany. I have no clue what's going on. But for the second time this season, the Rams have had a good team come into their building and throttle them. The Cardinals did it earlier this season. Now the Titans come in and really stomp a mud hole in them. The score isn't indicative of how they were dominated up front. And really in the trenches, that's where this game was won. The Titans manhandled. And back to their defense for a second. I kind of just glossed over it. They've come full circle. They weren't a good defense when this season started. No one was talking about Titans defense. All you wanted to talk about was their rushing attack with Derrick Henry and what they could do play action fake off of that. And with the addition of Julio Jones, all of a sudden this offense has a chance to really take off and give them a chance to offset some of the shortcomings of a defense that can't get to the quarterback. That was the narrative going into the season. Early in the season, that narrative seemed to be holding true. Offense was really heavily dependent upon the rushing attack of Derrick Henry. He was leading the league. He was lapping the league in terms of carries on the season, and he was going to be the first back to hit 1,000. He was going to lead the league in rushing again. He might have hit 2,000 again. Who knows? We're at the halfway point, and he was going to have 1,000 yards. Had he played tonight, he would have eclipsed 1,000 yards in the season. So that's nor here nor there. The bottom line is now as we hit week 9, going into week 10, this Titans defense is the real story here because they made enough plays to get it done against Buffalo. It wasn't pretty, okay? It wasn't always pretty against Buffalo defensively, but they got it done, okay? We've watched this defense grow into one that can harass quarterbacks, okay? We've seen Harold Landry turn into a real threat to get to the quarterback. We saw, as my guy, MJ over at Sports Fan Entertainment, you know I love when he says this, Big Jeff Simmons. What was that tonight? I mean, that is exactly why they decided to spend a first-round pick on this guy, despite him not being healthy when he came out that year in the draft. But despite all of the off-the-field things that people didn't want to touch, they went and drafted this kid not only because they did their homework and found out that this was a good kid that got caught up in one bad situation, but they also knew they were getting themselves one hell of a football player. He was unblockable tonight in that first half. 3 sacks, couple of quarterback hits, and it was his pressure that forced, one of those interceptions. He was outstanding, but it was Domenico Autry who got the party kicked off on that defensive line, and he's actually been really good for them this season. So now you're starting to see that D-line come alive. They still are waiting on Bud Dupree to come alive, and if he ever gets it together, if he ever gets healthy and comes back fully ready to harass quarterbacks like he was pre-injury with the Steelers, all of a sudden now, this defense, they just got their linebacker, Jayon Brown, back. The secondary, I think, is still a work in progress. A lot of injuries in that secondary. Caleb Farley was supposed to be a big part of that secondary. He's done for the season. So they're Christian Fulton, haven't seen him, think he's banged up. They've got some guys out, and they've made it work. This defense deserves a ton of credit. And if they can continue to play this kind of football, where they're able to go on the road with really no help from the defense whatsoever and get a win and get it convincingly because the defense is so suffocating and they're creating offense, a pick six, essentially another gift wrap touchdown down at the 2-yard line on the David Long pick, and they score and turn that into a touchdown. That's essentially 14 points the defense accounted for by themselves. They were huge in this game. Kept the Rams out of the end zone until literally the final 34 seconds of the game. So if the Titans are going to play defense like this, and their run game will never be the same without Derrick Henry, we can acknowledge that. But if they can get something out of that run game, and they can still use the play action fake as effectively as they've been using it to get the ball to A.J. Brown, Julio Jones, and other guys, they're going to have a chance to really make some noise in the AFC. And maybe we need to start talking about this Tennessee Titans team more. We'll see what happens moving forward. I said that, and I mean this, the Tennessee Titans and the Minnesota Vikings, to me, are mirrors of one another. The biggest difference is that the Titans know how to win games and the Vikings don't. But I always say that they're mirrors of one another because they can both beat anyone at any given time. They're talented enough to do it. But they're also an enigma to the point where they could lose to anyone at any given time. And we've seen the Vikings do that. We've seen the Titans do that, losing to the Jets this season, losing to the Bengals last season. Like, this is what they do. So just when you feel like, oh my God, this Titans team, they could be the best in the AFC. And record-wise, right now, they are the best team in the AFC because the Ravens have had their bye week, so they're 6-2. This Titans team is the only 7-win team in the AFC. So technically speaking, they are the number one team in the AFC. If the playoffs started today, they'd be the number one seed in the AFC conference and have a first-round bye. And they could easily come off that bye, host a home game, and promptly lose to whomever they play. That's the Tennessee Titans, and that's why you can't allow yourself to fall into the trap of this football team. They literally won this game without any efficiency whatsoever from their offense. You play better teams, and the Rams are as good as it gets in the NFC. I'm not sitting here and acting as if the Titans just beat the Little Sisters of the Poor, like they just beat the San Francisco 49ers. They just beat the best team in the NFC West, and you could argue the best team in the NFC conference as a whole. I still think it's Arizona. That was impressive what they did today. But at the end of the day, this was so impressive from a defensive standpoint, but there's a lot of work to be done. And you had to know that they were going to have this kind of a performance offensively without Derrick Henry because he's been, the bulk of their offense. So to not have him for the first game, you knew it was going to be a little rough around the edges. But for the defense to step up and overcompensate for the lack of offensive production and to give them the spark that they did in the first half of this game speaks volumes to where this Tennessee Titans team is right now. They're clicking on almost all cylinders, and that's why they're 7-2. And you look at the schedule. Okay, yeah, their division isn't great. Okay, we've already talked about that. But they play the NFC West, and they won their division last year. And because of that, that means that they've got division winners all scattered amongst the AFC. So they got to play Baltimore. Or Pittsburgh, excuse me. They got to play Pittsburgh, which I don't know if they played them yet or not, but it doesn't matter. They're better than Pittsburgh. They should beat them, but we'll see. You know how those things go. They had to play Kansas City. They already did play the Chiefs, and they walloped them. They had to play Buffalo. We saw what happened in that football game. And then, like I said, they had to play Seattle. This is when Seattle was good. We didn't know Seattle was going to have the bottom fall out. Okay, they went to Seattle when Seattle was, I want to say, undefeated on the season, and they were down 16 in the fourth quarter in Seattle and came back, rallied, sent that game to overtime, and won when Seattle was still Seattle. Okay, not the Seattle with Geno Smith, not the Seattle that was struggling before Russell Wilson got injured, the Seattle that had all the confidence, that was undefeated and looked like they were ready to roll on this Titans team. They came back and beat them in overtime. They got a mud hole stomped in them at home in week 1 against Arizona. They didn't know what they were walking into in that game. Nobody knew how good Arizona was going to be this season. But now we know that was a legitimate ass whooping from a really good team. And then now they beat the Rams. Like, this Titans team is legit. They've played a legit schedule. They earned 7-2. And now I'm hearing that they've got the easiest strength of schedule remaining of any team in the league. They deserve it. They earned it. And now when you hear that, again, this is the thing that should scare you if you're a Titans fan. You hear that and you're thinking, shit, why can't we go 14-3 and be the number 1 seed? You very well could do that. But you could also lose to 2 or 3 of those teams you got no business losing to, because that's what you do. Now, but the reason your strength of schedule is so bad is because your division stinks. And you've probably got a Jags or 2 Jags games left. You've probably got a Texans or 2 Texans games left. And those teams, well, were combined for 2 wins. Now it's 3 because Jacksonville won today. But anyway, I digress. I'm intrigued by the Titans. Very much so. They play a physical brand of football. They wear you down. Now the defense is hunting after QBs. They're being physical. The secondary is coming along. And even though I don't know if they have the best guys back there, they are starting to build depth. These guys getting snaps and getting experience is only going to bode well for them as the season continues to draw on and they have to play more and more. So they're becoming a really interesting team to look out for in the AFC. Meanwhile, with the Rams, this is the second time, as I mentioned earlier, that they've been embarrassed at home by a really good football team. They got embarrassed by the Cardinals, who's 8-1 right now, and then now they've been embarrassed by the 7-2 Tennessee Titans. And this is the problem with the Rams, is they don't have a legitimate difference maker at running back. They got some guys, but they don't have a guy. That was supposed to be Cam Akers. And what happens is in some of these games, you put too much on Matthew Stafford. And I said this before, we don't know what Matthew Stafford looks like in clutch situations, in clutch games, I should say. We've seen Matthew Stafford pull rabbits out of his hats in week 3 against the Bears in a game that ultimately in the grand scheme of things is cool. It's a division game, Lions, Bears, oh my. But, you know, we haven't seen Matthew Stafford win a playoff game. We haven't seen Matthew Stafford come up clutch in big-time, meaningful games late in seasons. We haven't seen Matthew Stafford do it at this level. We just assume because he's a really good quarterback and he's got Sean McVay pulling the strings that he'll be able to get it done. But when they've played upper echelon competition, he has not been great. I don't even think he was great against the Bucs when they beat Tampa Bay. He missed a ton of throws in that game. It just so happened that the Buccaneers weren't great in that game, and their secondary was decimated, and they were able to outlast them and then ultimately run away from them in that game. He was not great in that game. He was not great against Arizona. He was not great tonight. He was terrible, as a matter of fact, early in this game, which put them in the deficit. That interception he threw to David Long, that's right there on the list with Carson Wentz for worst interception of the year. You cannot do that. And I know what he was trying to do. He was trying to avoid a safety. I'd rather give up 2 than 7. You can't do that. You can't do that. You could do that when you were in Detroit in obscurity with nobody watching because nobody gave a shit when the Lions were going to end up 6-10 anyway. Nobody cared that you threw an ugly interception that led to a touchdown and ultimately an ass whooping against the Tennessee Titans on a random Sunday in November at 1 o'clock when nobody else but Titans and Lions fans were watching. Now you're playing for one of the best teams in the league and you're on Sunday Night Football. You can't do that shit. I worry about Stafford because he's a really good quarterback, but I don't know if he's capable in the biggest of moments of putting a team on his back and saying, I got this. I think he needs to have some semblance of a run game. He didn't in Detroit, but they didn't win very much. I think he needs the run game. And when they've had success this year, the run game is usually like, look at the numbers. He threw it 48 times. That's not a winning formula for Matthew Stafford in this Rams offense. He's not supposed to throw it 40 plus times. I'm curious. I'm going to pick out a few games. I don't need to go through every single game. I'm just going to pick out 3 or 4 games and see how many times he threw it. They beat the Texans, beat the brakes off of it. It was 38-0 at one point. He threw it 32 times in that game. They beat the brakes off the Giants. He threw it 28 times in that game. They lost to the Cardinals. He probably threw it a bunch in that game. 41 because they were getting their asses kicked. So he had to throw it. The Buccaneers, I bet you he didn't throw it 40 times in this game. 38 times. That's a lot, but not 48 like tonight, right? Colts game. He threw it 30 times. Like, that's the formula, okay? That's the formula. You don't want this guy having to throw it 48 times. Granted, tonight, a little bit of different circumstances. You're down big. You have no choice. He threw it probably 14 times on the final 2 possessions of the game. So that skewed the number a bit. But again, that's not a winning recipe for them. They need to have some semblance of balance. And sometimes with the Rams, the numbers don't really tell the story in terms of the run game because they'll use a lot of the screen game. They'll use the jet sweeps and they'll use the little touch pass as an extension of the run game. But that's to take pressure off of Matthew Stafford. There was really none of that tonight. The onus was put on Stafford. That offensive line failed him. He was under duress, and he did some stupid, foolish things with the football. It really cost his team. And before you know it, you're down 21-3 at halftime, and that was all the Titans needed. I didn't think it would be enough. I thought they were going to have to score more, but who knew that that defense was really going to put the clamps down on the Rams. And I thought the biggest play of the game wasn't anything that happened in the first half. There were some huge plays. Obviously, the pick 6 by Kevin Byard, who's returning back to that season form of what was it, 20? I want to say it was 19. We had like 9 or 10 picks. It felt like he had 1 million picks that season. He's kind of returning to that form. I didn't realize this was his first pick 6 of his career. I thought he already had 1 or 2 of those because he's been around the ball so much in his career. That said, I thought the biggest play was the Tyler Higbee touchdown being called back. They scored that touchdown there. It's 21-10. They're back in this ball game. I think the Titans start to feel a little bit of game pressure. They never felt game pressure after getting up big. Because even the next possession, they settled for a field goal. That would have cut it to a 1-score game at 21-13. Like, game pressure would have been applied at 21-10, I feel like. Now you start to feel like, man, we got to make something happen. Maybe Ryan Tannehill starts to press, makes a mistake. You never know. But that game pressure was never applied because they couldn't get into the end zone. So they were never in a position where 1 score could tie the game up. There was never real game pressure applied. I thought that was a huge call. Higbee stepping out of bounds and forcing the Rams to have to settle for a field goal there. I thought that changed everything because instead of it being an 11-point game at 21-10, that made it a 15-point game at 21-6. They would have to settle for another field goal on the following possession, and that would make it 21-9. And again, no game pressure. They're still up 12. They're still up 2 scores. You can't catch up with a touchdown and 2-point conversion and a field goal. They still need 2 touchdowns. So there was never real game pressure on the Titans, and I thought they really handled themselves well accordingly. So big game for the Titans. Big statement win, too, in front of the entire nation. And for the Rams, I've got questions about this team. I do. I've said that I still feel like the Rams aren't better than Tampa Bay, even though they beat them. I don't think they're better than Arizona right now, and Arizona has already taken them out back to the woodshed once this season. They do play again in Arizona. We'll see how that second game goes, but I'm not sold on the Rams yet. But, you know, you get Von Miller in there, and that could really take that defense to new heights, and we'll see what happens. I've got questions about the Rams. They're still a really good football team, don't get me wrong, but I've got questions about them, and tonight didn't help that situation out and my questions about that team at all. If anything, there are more questions than answers after tonight. Anyhow, let's get to your comments, see what you guys have to say. Got a few super chats to get the night kicked off. Silver V, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for the super chat, and thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy Silver V writes, "What's up, Louie T? What's up, Silver V? Can you take the time out to explain to me what in the world happened to Buffalo and the Cowboys today?" Again, I tweeted this out right around 7:15 while I was watching the conclusion of Green Bay, Kansas City. And the Packers had scored a touchdown. They cut it to a 6-point game. Essentially, when I sent out the tweet, it was 13-0, but they were driving. And I said, can we just all admit this? Like, we think we know, but truly, we have no idea, okay? We have no clue what the hell is going on in the NFL. We think, and I don't want to speak for anybody because I'm stinking it up doesn't mean everybody else is stinking it up. But who picked Jacksonville today? Who picked Denver today? Okay? Like, seriously. Who picked Tennessee? Some of you did pick Tennessee. I didn't pick Tennessee. Who thought San Francisco was going to get manhandled by Arizona with no Kyler Murray? And we knew that that was a real possibility that Murray and DeAndre Hopkins would be out. I mean, today was ridiculous. Ridiculous. Just like last week was insane. I don't know. I wish I could tell you. I watched it. I watched the Dallas game. I didn't watch the Buffalo game yet. So I can't wait to watch and see what Josh Allen did to Josh Allen. But the Dallas game, it was an embarrassment of errors on the part of Dallas. Like, literally, it was anything that could go wrong did go wrong. Whose law is that? Is that Murphy's law? What law is that? I don't remember. Whatever could go wrong did go wrong in the game. And they had drops. Dak was, he looked rusty. But Amari Cooper had a drop on a third down. He skipped a ball to a guy on a fourth down. He missed a receiver on a third down. He missed like 8 open receivers down the field. Justin Simmons is a beast. He had a fourth down stop of Ezekiel Elliott. He had a break up on another fourth down play. They got pressure on. They didn't have their left tackle, and the rookie Cooper out of Ohio State went to work on their left tackle that was in for Tyron Smith, which we know the Cowboys do not have offensive line depth. And we saw that last year when their offensive line was in shambles and the guys that they put in just simply weren't good enough. We saw a little bit of that today. They harassed the shit out of Dak Prescott. The Broncos, the thing that was more alarming to me wasn't the fact that the Dallas Cowboys defense or offense struggled, because Dak's first game back, they didn't have their fastball. And the Broncos are a good defense. I mean, they aren't the best defense, but they're a quality NFL defense. Vic Fangio is a maniacal son of a bitch. We know these things to be truths. So I wasn't shocked by that. What I was shocked by is how bad their defense looked today. The Denver Broncos offensively struggle to score. That's an understatement. Might be the understatement of the day. They struggled, and they were moving the football at will. Remember how I talked for weeks upon weeks? Teddy Bridgewater-led offense can't score 30. It's just not in his DNA. Well, they scored 30 today now. They got some help from the defense. Doesn't matter, though. Tim Patrick was unstoppable. Jerry Jeudy looked healthy and fresh. His second game back, he played well. And they ran the football down the Cowboys' throats. They couldn't tackle Javonte Williams, but then again, nobody's really been able to tackle Javonte Williams this season. They ran it really well with him and Melvin Gordon III. And I just thought that they just took it to the Cowboys. I thought the Cowboys thought they were going to be able to show up and get a win. They thought they could just show up, that Denver would lay down and they'd walk out with a dub. And they were sadly mistaken. And by the time they realized, oh shit, they're not playing, they're actually trying to beat us, it's too late. They were down big. It was 19-0. This game was 30-0 at one point. I wanted them to get shut out. Because people who didn't watch the game, they see 30-16 and they're thinking, oh man, Denver beat Dallas. No, Denver kicked Dallas's ass. That's what they did today. Same thing could be said for Buffalo. Jacksonville won 9-6. They kicked Buffalo's ass. They had to have. I didn't watch it, but they had to kick their ass. Buffalo is capable of putting up 50 on anybody's skull. They scored 6 whole points. I can't wait to watch it. Don't ask me what happened. I can't tell you. Can't tell you what happened in a lot of these games. They don't make sense to me. None of it does. Fat American, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, Fat American writes, didn't watch any games today. Felt good to have a productive Sunday. Anyways, just check the scores. Very weird week of football. Titans 7-2. What the F? Yeah. I mean, first of all, as a Washington fan, let me say it was stupendous to not have to worry about watching the fellas play today. And generally, I don't feel that way. I always love watching the fellas win, lose, or draw. Those are my guys, and I love watching them play. But, man, I needed a break. I needed a break from the stresses of watching this team struggle to put the ball in the end zone, the stresses of watching this team not make big plays. I got so many questions that I got to ask you guys on the nightly tomorrow. It should be a good show. But anyway, yeah, Titans are 7-2, and they're legit. Just in case you forgot, quick reminder, the Titans are 7-2, and they're effing legit. Too legit to quit. Anyway, thank you for the super chat, Fat American. Dejan Bell, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Dejan Bell writes, shit, yeah, Lou, Tim Patrick would be perfect for us. I told you guys that last year, that I love Tim Patrick. He was a hidden gem last year. He won't be a hidden gem this year if he stays healthy. He did get banged up a little bit today, but I think he still finished the game. He won't be a hidden gem next year when he's a unrestricted free agent. He was a restricted free agent this year, and the Broncos said, we're not letting you leave, which was smart on their part. Cheap labor, really good football player coming into his own. But Tim Patrick is not going to sneak up on anybody in free agency. He'll be a guy that will command some interest, and I think he's a hell of a football player. Liked him last year, wanted Washington to go out and sign him, but it didn't happen. But that's the kind of guy I'm looking for. Big body receiver that can run a little bit, but can go up and get the football, make plays. But I don't think he's coming to Washington either. But we'll see what happens. But I'm glad you got to experience the Tim Patrick experience today. What's that? Got another one here from Fat American. Double up. Thank you for doubling up, Fat American. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Fat American writes, if y'all don't hit the like button, man, I ain't playing. Look, we don't need to get, violent. No physical, no physicality necessary. He says, gonna make me stand up, and y'all don't want that. Trust me, I don't stand up for nobody. So again, we don't want any physical altercations taking place here, Fat American. If y'all could just hit the like button, I would truly appreciate that. So would Fat American. But thank you so much for that public service announcement, Fat American. All right. Let's get to some comments. Start with Gregory Lightbody, who writes, is it mandatory that Washington drafts a QB this upcoming draft? Because I want Hamilton or Stingley. It's not mandatory that they do anything other than make a pick in the first round. Does it have to be a quarterback? No. But do they have to do something at quarterback? Yes, they do need to do something at quarterback. The only way that they don't draft a first round quarterback, I truly believe, is if they get a guy that they believe in free agency, or I still think they're evaluating Heineke. And if Heineke finishes up this season on a tear, we win 7 out of our final 9, and he's playing fantastic football, and he's eliminating some of the mistakes, and this offense truly gets to really reach its full potential because you get Curtis Samuel back, you get De'Ami Brown back, you get Sam Cosmi back, you get Brandon Sheriff back, and all of a sudden this offense looks like a juggernaut. Then maybe they don't decide to draft a quarterback in the first round. But barring that happening or them landing some kind of big fish in free agency at the quarterback position, or rather a trade, because I don't think there'll be any big fishes available in free agency via trade, I think quarterback is something they'll look to address and attack in the first round aggressively. So, yes, the likelihood of you getting your hands on a Hamilton or Stingley, a safety and or a corner, slim and none, if you ask me. But we'll see what they decide to do. It's interesting that you bring that up because I don't disagree with you. I'll just leave it at that. Got a couple of super chats here. This one is from Metaphor. Thank you for the super chat, Metaphor. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy Metaphor writes, sure, we suck, but it's usually on plays here or there. Hell, Dallas should have 4 losses, but they get lucky, and we just got unlucky a lot in injuries. You don't get lucky or unlucky. You make your luck. You make your breaks in this league. Yeah, injuries, that's where I feel like lucky comes into play, because a lot of times with injuries, it's out of your control. Guy rolls up on your ankle. You're just blocking, minding your own business. That's what happened to Chase Rouillet. Like, just minding your own business, doing your job, and somebody rolls up on your ankle, and that's it. Your season's over. You know, that's some shit that you just can't control. But, you know, a lot of times with luck, you make your own breaks. You force that fumble. Darius Leonard goes in and punches that ball out, and they recover it. When we played the Buffalo Bills on the opening drive of the game offensively, or the second drive, whatever it was, we get a big game. Heineke extends, finds Logan Thomas. Thomas is breaking tackles. He breaks one tackle, breaks another one, and he's stringing along a guy, and here comes their cornerback, Tre'Davious White. Boop, punches the ball out. That's not luck. They made a break. They forced a turnover. We don't do that. The Cowboys may have made plays this year. We haven't made plays. So I'm not taking anything away from anybody. It's not woe is me. You want breaks in this league, you make them. You want opportunities, you don't wait for them, you take them. We don't do that. We wait for things to happen, and if they don't, then they don't. While the good teams, or the teams that find ways to win games, they seek those opportunities out. They make them happen. They create opportunities, whether it be scoring opportunities or defensive stop opportunities or turnover opportunities. They create those. We wait for them. That's what losers do. Thank you for the super chat, Metaphor. Fat American, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Fat American writes, nah, bro, I'm serious. Y'all won't like that because I'm going to need help to sit back down. That's at least a 4-man job. Look, man, you don't have to stand up. You don't have to do that. Okay? They got the message loud and clear. Hit the like button. Hit the like button, guys. Okay? You heard the man. Hit the like button. The Phillies Ace 34. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. The Phillies Ace 34 writes, Louie, what's good, my friend? What's good with you? NFL is about storytelling, just like the WWE. So there should be no surprises. What's up with the Braves hat? Take it off. Laughing my ass off. No, you should understand you're the Phillies ace. I'm leaving the hat on so that y'all know what a champion looks like. You got to understand the plight of a man that's waited for 26 years to celebrate. This celebration is not going to end until probably next April when the season starts. So, no, of course I'm not taking the Braves hat off. Are you crazy? I'm not one of these people that buy into conspiracy theories with the NFL, and it's about storytelling, and it's not a soap opera. These are people's real lives that we're talking about here. These aren't scripts that are being written and followed, okay? There aren't predetermined winners. I know some people out there think that that's the case. There aren't predetermined winners, all right? We don't schedule champions here in this league, all right? Are there storylines that come about in this league? Damn right there are. Aaron Rodgers was a storyline. Odell Beckham Jr. is a storyline. There are star players, and there are storylines that go along with a lot of these players and teams. Every team has their own separate storylines, some bigger than others. Some are local, some are, national stories. At the end of the day, yeah, there's backstories to all of these teams, but no, it's not like, a soap opera. It's not a script, Somebody had said, yeah, the NFL is rigged, and Adrian Peterson is going to have a massive game tonight. Okay, guy. How about your 8 carries for 16 yards? Ding! Got a touchdown, though. Sure, you're right. Anyway, thank you for the super chat. The Phillies Ace 34. Chauncey Davis. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. OG, triple OG. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, Lou, Chauncey, how's your fiance and the twins coming along? Wife. She's my wife now. And she is doing well. She's tired. She's ready for the twins to come out. They're big. She's big. It's a lot. I feel for her. Everything's a chore now. Walking around is a chore. Going up and down the steps, she's out of breath. She can't turn over in the bed. Everything's just hard. So we'll get into that point now. He says, the OG is all about family. Keep doing what you do. I know you are, and I appreciate that. I really do. And how's your family? How's your wife? I love your wife. Tell her I said hello. Thank you for the super chat. Chauncey Davis. Fat American. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, on a serious note, though, did you hear about Martin going to watch Corral and Willis? Do you have any insight on those two yet? Getting anxious about QB. No, I don't have any insight. I haven't watched the game. I have it on record. I plan on watching it either today, tonight, or tomorrow. Either way, I'll have something to say about it this week for sure. Yes, I know that he was in attendance. He was not alone. He took others with him. But he was representing one of 16 teams. Like, there are a lot of teams interested. Again, just that's the thing I keep telling everyone about is like, yeah, we need quarterbacks. We need a quarterback, I should say. But guess what? We're not alone. A lot of teams in the league need a quarterback, which is why 16 teams were represented at that Liberty Ole Miss game. So that just tells you that despite, what you may think about the league and, how many teams could truly need a quarterback? 16 teams were represented at that game. So that just goes to tell you, not all 16 need quarterbacks, but at least 7 to 10 of them do. At least 7 to 10 of them do. So, yeah, I digress. Metaphor, thank you for the super chat. Double up. Thank you for doubling up, Metaphor. Greatly appreciate you. I got Metaphor writes, Braves name trouble, changing to ATL baseball team. Not happening. I won't go full Dan Snyder on you and say in all caps, never. But they've been fighting a good fight for a while. I guess now that the Indians have changed their names, I guess the assumption is that the Braves are next on the chopping block. The first thing that would have to go before they change their name would be the tomahawk chop. And I've had, sensitive people have tried to come after us for that. One of the Cardinals players, I felt so offended. Whatever. Okay, guy. I can't tell anybody how to feel. That's probably not fair for me to say that, but just feel like, okay, you're being soft. Whatever. Bottom line is, I don't want to change any of it. I didn't want to change Redskins. So, I mean, I'm the wrong guy to ask. Okay. If enough people came and said, hey, I'm offended by the nickname Braves, just like with Redskins, if enough people, and there weren't enough people that felt that way. That was the problem. Indians were like, no, we're good. We actually have schools named Redskins. So we're cool. But, it's the, PC community that decides what people should be outraged by. So I think that the Braves are another one of those situations where people are trying to decide what you should be outraged by. I don't hear a crescendo. Like the Indians, that one was terrible, especially the old logo, right? With the Indian cheesing with the biggest smile you ever seen in your life. Like, okay, that's a caricature. That's like Aunt Jemima. Okay, like you need to change that. That's not what the Braves have. They just literally have a tomahawk. The Braves. That sounds like an honorable name. I don't know. Don't ask me. I'm a Braves fan, so of course I'm biased. Anyway, DMV Sports, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for the super chat, DMV Sports. Who writes, double up. Thank you for doubling up, DMV Sports Zone. Greatly appreciate you. Writes, let's go, Nationals. And the beauty of it is, you're going to stink for the next 3 to 4 years while we'll be reigning supreme, not over just the NFC and NL East, because we've already done that the last 4 years. So I don't need to brag about that. We run the division. Like literally, it's our division. But I think we have a chance to reign supreme over the league, sort of like what the Astros have done, except without the cheating and except without only just winning one. Like I'm going to be greedy this time with the Braves, because when we won 14 straight NL East titles and only came away with one World Series, it tarnished the legacy of that group, and that's a shame because those teams were great. But all anybody ever wants to talk about is that we won one World Series. This group here, we're young, we're dumb, and we're hungry, and we don't know any better. That's why we crashed the party 4 years ago, earlier than anybody expected, and we haven't left yet. And now we don't plan on leaving. We just plan on winning and stacking chips on top of chips on top of chips. So get used to it. Your Nationals, they traded away all their players. Steven Strasburg, his career probably not over. He'll probably never be the same, however. You guys don't have any players in your minor league system. Your farm system stinks. You could be in not just NL East purgatory. You could be in National League hell, in the basement down there partying with the Diamondbacks and the Rockies and teams like that, and the Marlins. You could be down there. Be careful. I'm not saying. I'm just saying. Anyway, I digress. Damn, it feels good to be a champion. Fat American writes, first of all, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Bill Callahan's playbook. I formation 37 fullback dive. Wherever he goes, except for Washington, really good rush offense follows. The Browns are running the shit out of the football, just like the Cowboys did and every other team Callahan coached, except us. And I think a lot of that had to do with Jay Gruden. If Callahan had it his way, we would have run the football more effectively, but that's not here nor there. The Phillies Ace 34. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, double up, let me double you up too. Really appreciate you. Writes, Louie, what the F? We start running and the offense is seeing success. Now Gannon can't coach defense. Louie, my Phillies are coming if pitching can get it can get better. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. We gave you a chance this year. Because now we got the utmost confidence now. We were teetering. We had all these injuries. We had all this misfortune and things happened to us. And we said, if you want the division, here, take it. Mets, Phillies, whoever, take it. Neither one of y'all wanted it. Now we got swag because we got a chip now. And I know everyone's going to be, our target's going to be on our back now. Everyone's going to be gunning for us. We understand that. And it's not going to be easy to do it now because there's more attention being drawn to you. You're everybody's big series. When you come to town for a Friday, Saturday, Sunday series, that's a big ticket now. You're playing the World Series champs. Man, I love the ring that has to it. But I'm not afraid of the Phillies. I'm not afraid of the Mets. Bring it. That's always been the way. Just like at the end of the season, division on the line, we swept y'all. Swept y'all so we can wrap this thing up. But anyway, to your point, y'all, now understand who you're playing. The Chargers have some of the worst rush defense in football. Understand that. But it was a sight for sore eyes to see you guys devote yourself to the run today. Not go away from it, but actually say, no, this is working. Let's stick with it. And you did that today, and you had tons of success. Like you said, the fact that Justin Herbert, what did he have? 5 incompletions on the day? The defense just seems soft. Everything is like, hey, we don't want to give up any big plays, but you can have whatever you can have whatever you like. Yeah, underneath. You want 5? It's yours. You want 7? Have it. You want 12? Take it. Whatever you want underneath, you can have it. You just can't have nothing deep. Everything seems soft with that Gannon defense in Philadelphia. Too easy. Way too easy. Every time you scored, right down the field come the Chargers back with points of their own. It's like you can never really get full momentum in that game because every time you scored and felt like you were grasping the momentum, you gave it right back on defense with allowing Justin Herbert and that offense to move it right down the field and get into the end zone. That's tough. Fat American, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Fat American writes, remember the scenario I wanted to give you. Okay, let's go back to 2000 and bring the 2021 Super Bowl champ Bucks. Keep the 2000 NFL rules. Who wins, the Ravens or the Bucks? Because if you're playing in 2000 and it's a much more physical football game, I'd say the Ravens, but just because you're taking the Bucks out of their element and you're throwing them into an era that they're not accustomed to. Now guys can't go over the middle with free reign. Now Tom Brady can't stand in the pocket and expect not to get hit and get touched really or breathe on for that matter. If someone even takes a breath on a quarter, you saw that ridiculous personal foul they called on Aaron Donald. I thought that was a game-changing play. Rams got momentum. They're down 21-9. They're going to get a stop. That's 3rd down. Tannehill's throwing it out of bounds. They got a punt. The Rams are going to get this football back with 11 minutes in the 4th quarter and a chance to cut this thing to a 1-score lead. And they call Aaron Donald for one of the worst personal foul penalties you will see. Even Terry McCauley in the booth with the Sunday Night Crew, their officiator, their official that they have in their box said that's clearly not a personal foul penalty. I thought the officiating was spotty at best tonight, and that's probably being nice. Anyway, the Ravens I think would have the advantage because they're playing in their element. They don't have to adjust. The Bucks would have to adjust, and the Bucks were good not because of their defense, but because of their offense. That's what scared you. Their defense actually, had a hell of a run in the postseason, but the Ravens, you weren't going to hurt them with your defense because their offense was trash anyway. It'd be interesting because the Ravens can't score. They'd have to stop you from scoring. The Bucks can score, but if they're playing with the rules from 2000, they could destroy that Buccaneers, because I look at the Buccaneers offense as a finesse offense. Now they can run it too. Fournette, when they get downhill and they start to run it and Fournette's got it going, they have an identity of a tough team. But for the most part, they really want to spread you out and let Brady get surgical. And, that was a different game. Teams weren't spreading you out 5 wide in 2000. You weren't seeing tight ends flex out and go one-on-one with linebackers and safeties. So it'd be hard. It'd be fun to see how a team from today, with the rules being what they are and the advantage going to the offense, how they would have to adapt and adjust to the rules being what they once were. And Brady wouldn't be able to play till 50. He would have retired already, like the quarterbacks before him, like Aikman and like Steve Young. He would have been knocked out of his career, would have been over already. Because, Brady's already had concussions. Giselle told us Brady was struggling with concussions 3 years ago. And Brady was like, shh, shut the hell up. What you talking about? Stop talking. So his shit would have been over. Anyway, I digress. Metaphor, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Metaphor writes, Lou, I see a trend. Talk to me. You probably a Blackhawks hockey fan and you're a Bulls fan, a stretch, but that's almost a Buffalo. No. First of all, I don't like hockey at all. I can name teams, but don't ask me anything about hockey. I can't tell you. That's number one. Number two, I was a Bulls fan growing up, but I was more specifically a Scottie Pippen fan. And I've explained that before. But if you don't know the story, that's a discussion for the offseason. We can have that conversation in the offseason during a podcast. But I've told that story, I think, multiple times already. Anyway, I digress. Gignac the Big Mac. Thank you for the super chat. Gignac the Big Mac, who writes, never disrespect the PFP king, pound for pound king of boxing again. I still got them receipts of you doubting Canelo KOing Plant after he broke someone's face back in May. I need those receipts, because I could tell you this. I never thought Caleb Plant could beat Canelo. Why? Caleb Plant isn't he's not a strong enough fighter in terms of his punching power. Caleb Plant is a pepper you with punches, move, don't get hit type of guy. But I've watched Caleb Plant struggle with lesser competition. So I knew Canelo was going to beat him up. There isn't anyone for Canelo right now. There really isn't. I don't know if there's anyone out there that can beat him right now in the sport. There are a couple of fights I'd like to see, but I don't know if there's anybody out there for him right now. But I knew he wasn't going to beat Canelo. So I want to see those receipts. I really would like to see those receipts. Chauncey Davis, double up, thank you for doubling up, OG, triple OG. My guy Chauncey Davis writes, Lou, Chauncey says, my wife heard you describe what your wife's going through. We had 5. The first thing she said was tell him to rub her feet. I do almost every day. I'm just saying, and I do. I take care of her feet. Poor Bae. Her feet are just going through it right now. And so, yes, I do definitely rub her feet. So tell your wife, I'm on top of it. I'm on top of it. Thank you for the super chat, Chauncey Davis and the OG's wife. Dizzy Nato. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Dizzy Nato writes, QB, Fresno State, Jason Meekins. Is that a real person? Because I actually know a Jason Meekins. Did you just make that name up, or is that a real quarterback? I'll write the name down on the list though. Because there will be work to be done. Jason Meekins. Fresno State. Home of Derek Carr and Devontae Adams. Maybe we can get another gem from there somewhere. We'll see. Metaphor. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Metaphor writes, opposite. How about 85 Bears in today's game? They wouldn't be able to survive. They'd be penalized on just about every play. They would probably be made to look slow. They would have to adjust to teams spreading them out. You realize they played a 46 defense. They would have 8, 9 guys in the box at a time. Literally 9 dudes. You know what the 46 defense was. Literally, you've got 5 guys on the defensive line, and you've got 3 linebackers essentially right behind them, filling every single gap. Like they're attacking you aggressively with 1 safety deep and 2 corners outside. You can't do that shit today. Teams won't allow you to do that. They'll just spread you out. Now you've got to adjust and adapt your personnel to what they're putting on the field. They'd never be able to play the 46 defense. If somebody had trips or a single back with 3 receivers on the field, that was a total mind blow in 1985. Joe Gibbs refused to run shotgun in 1985. You understand what I'm saying? It was a different game back then. So you could take the teams from today and throw them back into the games back in yesteryear, and those teams would have a chance because they could still be physical, even though it would change drastically because the teams of today would still spread them out. They could still be physical with them. These teams don't want to be in those types of games where if they go across the middle, guys are headhunting and they know that. You know, there's no penalty for going over the middle of the football field. So guys do it with impunity now. But if you put them back in 2000 or back in 85, you could put 5 receivers on the field, but they're going to get punished. So is your quarterback. Because even if you throw it hot or you throw it quickly, if I blitz, best believe my guy's coming 3 steps after you've thrown the ball, I'm still hitting your ass. Still hitting your quarterback. And there's no penalty for that. So, again, you could take teams from today, put them back in yesteryear, and those teams in yesteryear would have a chance. You can't take a team from yesteryear, throw them into today's NFL because guys are stronger, bigger, faster, and the rules are too different. Too many adjustments would have to be made. There's certain teams, because they were revolutionary and they were headed, like the Bills' K-gun offense, like they could play in today. Like the run and shoot offense of the Atlanta Falcons, like those offenses, the Oilers run and shoot, that I thought they had the best run and shoot. Those teams could play in today's NFL. Like they were ahead of their time. But the defenses, not so much. That's why those offenses had so much success. But when it became playoff time, those offenses struggled. Not Buffalo's, but the Oilers offense, the Falcons offense, those offenses tended to struggle because the physicality of the game was too much. Anyway, I digress. Let's see. Juan Gotti talking sports. Got a few more minutes. We'll knock a few more out. Writes, the season's over, but if we find a way to beat the Bucks, what's your reaction? I had us beating the Bucks before the season started. I stand on that. Watch, Louie. What happened? Am I crazy? No. Yeah, you're crazy. And I said the same thing about beating the Steelers last year, and we did. But I don't see the difference is we were playing good football. Like I said, we got a running start to jump up and punch the Steelers in the face last year. There's no running start here. You know, we're literally standing flat-footed and trying to leap up and punch a bully in the face, and it's not. I don't see it happening. But if we won that game, I would be excited. But again, what do you do after? What's the encore for that? Like, is this the beginning of us trying to go on a run, or is that just this one-off? Like Jacksonville today. Wow, what a win, right? That doesn't. You don't think they're going to carry that over in the next week? No, they had an out-of-body experience. The Bills were probably tragically horrible today, which helped Jacksonville stay in that game and ultimately win it. But that doesn't mean you think Jacksonville's any good. You just say, okay, next week they'll get a mud hole stomped in them by whomever they play. That's kind of how I would feel about us if we won. Like, okay, that was cute. We got Carolina next week. You know, we got that. Christian McCaffrey, let's see what we do. They stink. The Panthers stink. They stink on offense. Sam Darnold is awful on offense. I bet you they don't look that bad against us in 2 weeks. I guarantee it. We'll see. Ree writes, look at the Titans, Lou, doing their thing. These guys just keep on winning against good teams, too. I couldn't agree with you more, Ree. I think that's part of the reason I admire what the Titans are doing right now. And I feel like, hey, we got to start talking about the Titans as a legitimate Super Bowl contender because they just find ways to win. It's not pretty, but it's gritty. And most importantly, it's a dub. And every time you look up, they're beating one of the better teams in the league again. And what this one proved, because it felt like all of the wins that they had been getting, the big ones at least, they were all at home. You know, Buffalo at home, Kansas City at home. You know, when they win, felt like it was always at home. Now, they've had some big wins over the years on the road, obviously at Baltimore, not once, but twice. You know, beat Baltimore in the regular season last year, beat Baltimore in 2019. So we've seen them get big wins on the road before, but it just felt like, yeah, a lot of their big wins are coming at the crib. You know, now the Seattle win early in the season, that was impressive. I was blown away by that one because they were down 16 in the fourth quarter with like 6 minutes left. Not only did they come back and tie it, they won it in overtime. But this was on the road against the Rams, and they dismantled them essentially in their own building. That's impressive. This Titans team is impressive. And I thought that what Al Michaels said was spot on. I don't think Mike Vrabel gets enough credit for what he does. I don't think the guy's had a losing season yet. I think his first 2 years in the league, he was 9-7. And then last year, they went 11-5. And this year they're heading towards, 12, 13 wins. I don't think he gets enough credit. I really don't. Ree also writes, I think your Washington football team caught the Bucs on a bad week, Lou. We've had a week to let this loss fester. I think we're pretty pissed off and looking to take out our frustrations on somebody. It didn't matter if you were happy-go-lucky and you had won 8 straight. You were going to kick our ass regardless. This just adds a little fuel to the fire because you had to sit there and let a loss kind of marinate. And so now, like you said, you're looking to take your frustrations out on someone, and that someone's us. Everyone takes their frustration out on us. If you've got any ills, we're your cure for whatever your ills are. The Packers couldn't get a red zone stop. They had given up 15 straight to start the season off, hadn't stopped a single team in the red zone until they met us. Then they had 4 red zone stops and didn't give up a single point to us in the red zone. We went 0-4. Whatever you've got an issue with, we're your antidote. Us. Okay? Denver Broncos, worst in the league on third downs, converting as an offense. I think they went like 6 of 12 against us. And whatever you are struggling with, we're going to help fix that for you. So, whatever you guys are struggling with, your secondary stinks, they'll have 2 or 3 picks this week. But whatever you're struggling with, we'll help you with that. That's what we've been this season. Everybody else's get right. Juan Gotti talking sports writes, Lou, if you haven't done it yet, can I get an Adrian Peterson? I'm so happy for AP. How can anyone hate this man? He's still got some left. I'm happy for him too. I'm happy for him for more reasons than one. But I do think he's got something left in the tank as well. So I agree with you. Amar, 2 times official, writes, what in the NFL? I don't know, man. This is a crazy week, much like last week. He also writes, Golf must have changed his number. Oh, wait. Got a Stafford joke there. I see what you did there. Jonathan Hankey writes, damn, Louie, that Titans D-line is scary. And just imagine if they can get Bud Dupree to get back to his pre-injury form that he had with the Steelers. This D-line could get really, really nasty. I mean, seriously, some spooky shit. We'll see. Jonathan Hankey says, looks like the division is getting out of our reach. I mean, you can still get in on a wild card. With all the chaos going on in the AFC, you can still get in on a wild card. But if you wanted to win the division, you had to win last week. You had to. You were up 14-0. You got to win that game. You didn't win that game. So, yeah, you're not winning the division. Amar times 2 official writes, Jayon Brown to Washington this offseason. That was a guy that I had, circled as a potential linebacker, free agent. But I don't know if they're going in that direction, free agency-wise. I think they're looking to spend a lot of their free agent dollars on their own guys, which I think is the right thing. And I think they're looking to continue to build through the draft. We'll see. They'll supplement the roster here and there, but you're not looking to give big money to, Jayon Brown or Tim Patrick for that matter. Right? You're not looking to get into a bidding war for any of these guys. So we'll see what happens. Reese says, Lou, Tannehill never gets any credit. Derrick Henry overshadows him, and rightfully so. But I think he's actually a pretty good quarterback. I think people acknowledge that Tannehill's a good quarterback, but they understand that there are limitations there. Like, he can't put a team on his back. The year they went to the AFC Championship game, he was a passenger. How many passing attempts did he have in wild card weekend win over New England? 12? Did he go 7 of 12? Was he 7 of 10? Was he 6 of 8? Whatever the number was, it was asinine. The following week after that, what did he throw? 15 passes maybe? Like, that's part of the reason why Tannehill is overlooked, is because while his contribution is major, because you can't win anything worth note in this league without a quarterback. And Titans fans understand it. As good as Derrick Henry is, you're still going to need Ryan Tannehill to make throws. That said, Tannehill has limitations. He cannot carry a team. If Henry does not have it going, he can't then strap the team to his back. If their run game is non-existent, like tonight, for instance, their run game wasn't great. It wasn't terrible, but it was life without Henry, and they got to adjust. It did not look great tonight. He threw for 143 yards, but the defense was the star of the show, so he didn't have to strap the team to his back. But imagine if the defense was struggling tonight and they were giving it up, and they said, look, the run game's not working. We need you to go out and score us 38 tonight. Would Tannehill have been able to do it? The answer is no. And that's why people kind of gloss over Ryan Tannehill. I think he's the perfect quarterback for what they are doing. Similar to Baker Mayfield in Cleveland. He's the perfect quarterback for what they want to do. Baker Mayfield, I think, is more capable than Ryan Tannehill of strapping the team to his back, but that's not Baker Mayfield's game. Okay? You don't want him to have to do that. But I think he's more capable than Ryan Tannehill. Got a couple more super chats, and those may take us out of here. or just one? Fat American, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, Lou, we always hear about the 85 Bears and the 2000 Ravens defense, but in my opinion, that 07 Giants defense is very underrated. I hate to say it. They were good, but they weren't on the level of the 85 Bears, the 2000 Ravens, the 2002 Buccaneers, the 2015 Denver Broncos, the 2013 Seattle Seahawks. They weren't on that level. Those are some of the best defenses we've seen in the last half century. You know, when you start going back, how long ago now is the 85 Bears? 95, 2005, 15. So we're coming up on 35 years. So it's give or take 36 years now. So in the last, let's start there. In the last 36 years, those are the best defenses we've probably seen. 85 Bears, 2000 Ravens, 2002 Bucks, 2013 Seahawks, 2015 Broncos. Those are the defenses. And the 1949ers, had they won the Super Bowl, would have probably been in that conversation, but they didn't get it done. The Giants in 07 were good. That defensive front was ferocious. But when you talk about elite defenses, generally, they don't give it up. And the Giants early in that season, and had some games that season where they gave it up. But they got hot at the right time. Remember, that was a wild card Giants team. So a lot of times when you talk about dominant defenses, you're not wild card because your defense is so good. You're stifling and suffocating other offenses. You're winning, 11, 12, 13, 14 games because of that defense. The 85 Bears went 15-1. The 2000 Ravens, they probably were like, the offense was so bad, they probably were 10-6. But that was good back in 2000. 10-6. That was good. That was some sweet action right there. 11-5, or somewhere in there were those Ravens. The Bucks in 02, they probably were a 12-win team. If I had to guess, I don't remember exactly. 11-5, no worse than that. But they were probably a 12-4 win team. 11-5. The 2013 Seahawks had to be. I can't remember. Again, 12-4, 13-3, no worse than 11-5. Broncos, same thing. Peyton Manning got injured that year. Brock Osweiler had to step in. That one gets a little dicey, but I still think that's a double-digit, 11-5 type team. That Giants team, I think they were 9-7. And some of it was because of the defense not getting stops early in that season. Remember, they gave up 35 in week 1 to Dallas and 40 the following week to the Packers in the first 2 weeks of the season. 85 total points. 80 total points. 35 to Dallas and then 45 the next week to the Packers. 80 total points in the first 2 games. I remember that because they had Washington week 3. And I thought we were going to stomp a mud hole in them. And we had them down 14-3, I believe, at halftime. And they ended up beating us 17. I want to say it was 13-3. And they ended up beating us 17-13. And we had our white and gold pants with the burgundy white and stripe with the red R on the helmet. Oh, my God. I love those throwbacks. We had those on that day. And we lost. That was the Clinton Portis out of the game at the end. Lydell Betts trying to get in, falls down and gets tackled, and we lose. Game, whatever. Anyway, who cares? Metaphor. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes? Guess we can scratch Day vaunted 21 Washington football defense off the list. I guess you meant the vaunted. Yes, we scratched them off after like week 3. I think we scratched them off, and after week 3, we realized, okay, not only is this defense not what we thought it was going to be, but they're actually bad. I took a little bit longer though. Some people recognized a lot sooner than I did. I was in denial. So I didn't recognize it until probably like week 5 is when I finally said, okay, that's enough. We're not good. I think it was the Falcons game week 4, but I still had hope. New Orleans week 5, and we actually didn't play poorly, but the Hail Mary and the 72-yarder, whatever. Tizzy Bang, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, don't you think Odell would help us attract a quarterback like Rodgers or Watson to come here? No, I don't. Not at all. They don't care about playing with a player. They care about playing with a good team, a winning team. That is not what we currently have. So, no. Having a guy like Odell wouldn't attract the quarterback. It might actually scare a quarterback away, depending on how you look at it. But no, I don't think that would help us at all. Anyway, let's get out of here. We've hit our hour mark and then some. Really appreciate you guys chopping it up with me. Big win for the Tennessee Titans, 28-16 over the Rams. Titans, man, 7-2. Impressive 7-2 at that. Some big wins by this Titans football team over some of the best that the NFL has to offer. Yep, they lost to the Jets. Yep, they got their asses kicked by the best team in the league right now, the Arizona Cardinals, record-wise. But outside of that, outside of those 2 hiccups, Titans have pretty much taken on all comers. Respect to the Titans. Still think they're missing a few key ingredients, and really that Derrick Henry injury really hurts. Really does hurt. But that said, if this defense can play the way that it played tonight in his absence, look out for the Tennessee Titans. I'm just saying. For the Rams, it's another disappointing loss. Both of your losses this season have been more or less ass whoopings at the crib. And in those games, you turn it over, which they did tonight. They did it against Arizona as well. You had mistakes and penalties, which they had like 11 or 12 penalties tonight for over 100 yards. I didn't agree with every single one of them, but still can't put yourself in that situation. And your quarterback got harassed. He got harassed against Arizona. He got harassed tonight, and he made mistakes. I got questions about these Rams, man. Do they have the answers? Is something that we'll have to figure out, and they'll have to figure that out before January rolls around. They'll be there when January hits, but how long are they staying? Are they going to try to hang around until February, or are they going to bow out early in January? If they answer some of these questions, they may be able to hang around and make it interesting. But if they don't, they could be gone relatively early in January. We'll see. But they're still a 7-2 football team. Still super talented, still well coached. But they got their asses kicked up in the trenches today. In the trenches, that's where this game was won by the Titans. They dominated the Rams up front. Now you got to go back to the drawing board if you are the Los Angeles Rams and figure out what you can do better to avoid this from happening again in the future. Because this isn't the last physical team you're going to see this season that can run it and be physical in the trenches. So they're going to have to figure some things out. But no Von Miller tonight, still waiting. I thought it was going to be the perfect showcase, but he was still dealing with that ankle. They didn't feel the need to rush him back, and that's a smart play on their part. Can't wait to see him in action. They say he should be ready next week. That should be a lot of fun watching. Von Miller, Aaron Donald, Gumby, all on the same defensive line with Jalen Ramsey on the back end. Whew, that could get nasty really quickly. But wasn't their night tonight. They got dominated 28-16. Both teams leave this game at 7-2. For the Titans, their 7-2 is good for the best record in the AFC. Meanwhile, for the Rams, their 7-2 not only is not good enough for number one in the NFC. It's not even good enough for the best record in their own division. That distinction goes to the Arizona Cardinals, who are now 8-1. So it's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on Sunday Night Football Overtime. Get off the bench, get in the game, and kick it with me, your man Louie T. Until next time. My guy Metaphor says, go Braves, tomahawk chop it out. Hail Redskins. Y'all know what it is. Oh. Now they got the whistles. Like we running a band on y'all now. Anyway, God bless and good night.